Right.
All right. Matt asked me to come talk to you all today about a safety procedure, maybe in welding or oxy fuel gas cutting. So I decided I'd have a talk with you all about how to properly exchange a oxygen tank when this is empty. Now, a lot of people think you just come over here, take the regulator off, throw the new tank on, put the regulator back on, open the tank, and go to work. And I'd imagine that's what happens now. That's very quickly, and y'all aren't alone. It's probably 95% of everybody does it that way. But it's not the safe way. This can actually blow up when y'all exchange this tank. This becomes a bomb if not done correctly. The first thing you got to do when you're going to exchange this the right way, the safe way, is, of course, turn your tank off. The second thing, nobody does this, but you need to take and unscrew the adjusting valve all the way out to where the regulator is off, completely off. I know that's a pain because when you put the new tank on, you're going to have to set the pressures again, but it's very important. So you come to the tank, you turn your tank off, adjust your valve all the way out to where the regulator's off, then take the regulator off. The next important thing, well, the first thing I should have said, make sure your hands are clean. If you're using bare hands that you don't have grease, dirt, again, I know that's hard because the environment is dirt and grease, but you do be careful not to get any contaminants in this stem, nut and stem. Any oil or grease or dirt that gets here could cause this to become a bomb and blow up. So when you exchange a tank, make sure your hands are clean, your gloves are clean, or just be careful not to touch this area here. So you got your hose hooked, tape, set this somewhere where that's not in dirt or grease. All right, take your tank off. We're going to pretend right now. Take your tank off, bring your new tank, put it in here, take your cap off. Before you put this on, this tank has been on the back of our truck, shipped here on the interstate. If it's raining, water comes onto this tank, there could be something in this valve from transportation. So the first thing you want to do is try to blow anything out that's in there. A dirt dauber could have come and made a little dirt dauber's nest in here overnight or something inside this cap. So you want to just open it up, clean that off, then bring your regulator, do the same thing you normally do, tighten this up, put your regulator back on here. This adjusting screws all the way out. And I'll explain why this becomes a bomb here in a second. You'll turn your tank on, then adjust your flow back for your cutting tool. Acetylene does not matter because it's not an oxidizer. This, along with fire or flames, contributes to it becoming huge. If you had a fire and you set this oxygen tank, opened it up, and shot it to the fire, it's just going to become an inferno. So we've got it on there. We've adjusted everything back in. We're good to go. How this becomes a bomb is if you get oil or grease or any hydrocarbon, which is anything to burn, in here, and you've left this adjusting screw all the way adjusted in. When you turn this valve on, this tank's got 2,500 PSI in it, very high pressure. It shoots the gas through the regulator all the way through the system at a high rate of speed. And when the oxygen passes through the small orifices inside here, along with a contaminant like oil or grease, the friction of the oxygen passing through the small orifices creates heat. And that heat will ignite that oil or grease. And when it ignites that oil and grease, you have that fire I was talking about. And it may be small, but as soon as it's in contact with the oxygen, it blows up. And the regulator will blow up. And when it does, it blows this whole front of this regulator off. I've seen it done. I've gone to school and they've actually made this happen. And when it does, a lot of the old style, y'all probably remember, had the metal pin. Instead of these plastic knobs, they had a metal T-bar that you turn. Well, that thing's come off. It has actually impaled in people and gone into their chest. It's killed them. It's blown their face off. The one part I did forget to tell you is when you do all this, you stand to the side. When you're putting it on, when you're turning everything on, for the first time when you turn the tank on, you don't want to be back here. Could possibly be to the side. Because more, it's either going to go out or 90% of the time it's going to go forward. Stand to the side. And that doesn't happen that often, but it's definitely a possibility that this could blow up. And y'all aren't alone. Everybody has always done that. But the safe, correct way, make sure you take this. What can stop the whole thing is taking this adjusting screw all the way out where the regulator is turned off. So that when you turn the oxygen on, it stops right here and doesn't pass through all the small orifices. So it doesn't have the speed to create the friction to cause the fire to take place inside the regulator. I believe we've covered, and if you just, you don't really have to worry about when you put your hose on here, because again, it's passed, but be careful. Anytime you're dealing with oxygen, you don't want any oils or greases around this tank. Anywhere close to this tank, the valve on here, so you don't want to, when you're putting this on, you've got a glove on and you get grease on the threads here, you've got to be careful of that. So always have either your bare hands or a clean pair of gloves, maybe that you designate that you use only for when you change out the tanks. But it's very important because it's very deadly and it can happen. When you're storing these regulators, if they're not in use, if you've taken one off, make sure and cover this end up with something, a Ziploc bag or tape, where if you're storing it where no contaminants can get in here. Other than that, it's pretty plain simple. Always have the cylinder cap on when you're moving your tanks, because if you drop it, this becomes a rocket. I've seen that. And it will go through, these tanks will go through block walls. If you ever watch Mythbusters, they sent one through one brick wall thinking that would stop it. It went through the second brick wall that they weren't planning on going through. So always have your cylinder cap on. But that's all there is really to safely exchanging an oxygen tank on an oxygen-acetylene car. So, any questions? Did I talk too fast?